all across the country. We've teamed up with Prater's Mill to host this event. Support this great cause. Thank you.
Please do support the cause. All right, we have Melissa from the food bank. Hello.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak tonight, Commissioners. It says Chattanooga Food Bank, but really it's about the Northwest Georgia facility here in Whitfield County that helps support about 40 agency community partners, schools, churches, soup kitchens, and food pantries across Whitfield County. So tonight, I first just want to say thank you and thanks for the opportunity to speak. We're incredibly excited about the $3 million investment into Whitfield County, not only to support the almost 13,000 people that we estimate tonight here in Whitfield County to go to bed without enough to eat, but to also support our neighboring counties here in Northwest Georgia. So thank you for that opportunity. We came to Dalton in 2011. We opened up a little 10,000 square foot facility off of South Hamilton because what we heard time and time again from church pantries and soup kitchens and places where people could get access to food was just getting to Chattanooga to get food was the biggest barrier for so many families and church partners and community partners here in Northwest Georgia. So we opened up the building, threw up a shingle, and said, here we are. Over the last decade, we've really taken time to invest in our community partners like Salvation Army, City of Refuge, Providence Ministry, list goes on and on across the entire county. Why it's important today more than ever to have this facility and to really build out our presence here in Northwest Georgia is what we saw in the pandemic, is how vulnerable our food systems are and how quickly, almost overnight, people cannot have enough to eat. And a basic need like food, you can't fill jobs, you can't go to work, your kids can't go to school and learn if they don't have enough to eat. So we know that to move forward and to do this work well, we saw some of the challenges our food bank and our community partners faced in crisis, and we were able to respond to a lot of them, but there's a lot of things we'll be able to do better in future years with building out this Northwest Georgia facilities. So if you think about how food gets to Northwest Georgia, you think about the food that is just rescued at every grocery store, every Kroger, every Food City, every Walmart, every opportunity that we have to aggregate donated food from local growers, from grocery stores, from manufacturers, and be able to take that food and turn it right back in the county that it comes from and make sure it's feeding the families that are right here in Whitfield County. Sack pack programs at schools, senior mobile pantries, Raider Nation, all of those things that we do in partnership with churches like Rockbridge, that could not be possible without the support of all aspects of the community. Our nonprofit work, our business sectors that support this work, our government. So I just want to take the opportunity to share how all that worked. As we move forward with this expansion, we really are positioning this Northwest Georgia not to just provide food like we have in the past, but to do a better job for access to fresh, nutritious food. And this expansion on South Hamilton will allow us to take full truckloads of fresh produce, of meat, of milk, some of the things that some of our families, many of our families would love to have, and we were just a little bit limited on what we could offer at this facility. So just thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight, tell you a little bit of what we're doing across the county and what the future looks like. Thank you.
All right, next we have 2 alcohol applications, so we're required to have a public hearing. So I declare the public hearing open for the Quickway Mart on Cleveland Highway and the West Side Mark over on Lafayette Road in Rocky Face. Would either of the owners or anyone like to speak in favor of these alcohol applications? I believe they're both just a change of ownership. They already serve alcohol at these facilities today, I believe. Anyone in favor? Anyone opposed to transferring these applications? We will vote on them later, but this is just your chance to give us feedback. All right, I will close the hearing for that. And we'll vote in a moment. All right, this is a part where just the commissioners give a brief report. I always like to start mine with the strategic objectives, which is the upgrade of our commissioners meeting and growing our attendance, which seems like we're having great attendance here tonight, and hopefully streaming online successfully like we did last month as well. We want to modernize our operations and improve and increase our employee engagement, focus on better paying jobs, lower our property taxes, and improve our teamwork with the various cities and towns around Whitfield County. Related to the property taxes, I know many of you saw where we worked with our Board of Assessors. As we mentioned the last several months, we do not set the property assessments, but all of the taxing authorities with the Board of Assessors met, and they recently voted to basically roll back the appeal, roll back the assessment to the 2021 level. So just an update on the whole process, since it can be a little confusing, especially with this somewhat last-minute change. So right now, we're in process, the team that works for Ashley O'Donnell to roll back that digest, enter all that into his software, into his database, and reset everything back to the 21 levels. Then we will have a single millage rate meeting, hopefully the first week or so of October, to officially set the millage rate. So basically your taxes and your assessments should be as close to last year as possible, if not exactly the same. So you still have an opportunity for appeals. Any appeals that were done last year, of course, will be part of the digest already. You don't need to reappeal if you appeal and it was approved last year. But if for some reason you didn't appeal last year and you don't like last year's assessment, you still have an opportunity. We're required to give you a chance to appeal. But again, everything is going back to the 21 level. So the notice you got back in June or July is not valid anymore. You'll get a new statement shortly as soon as they finish with the digest. Then finally, the tax commissioner will mail the notices, and you'll be able to pay your property taxes if you need to for tax purposes by the end of the year, December 20th, like always. I don't know if we'll have a little extra time, but for sure, if you need to pay it, you'll have the notices and the amounts and be able to pay it by the end of the year. So it's a tight time frame, but it looks like we're going to be able to make it. But a lot of steps, a little bit complicated, but I want to share that with everyone. The other item, this is for the commissioners, but the public as well. Our next meeting would normally be on October 10th. That is Columbus Day. Of course, that's a federal holiday, a banking, school holidays. Several businesses are closed, and I just want to float that out there if we could move it up. Sometimes we will move it to the next day, the 11th. I'll be out of town on the 11th, so a little bit of personal note there. If we could maybe move it to a couple of days, either Thursday or Friday of the previous week. We don't need to decide today, but I just want to let everybody know that currently it's Columbus Day when our next meeting would be otherwise. That's it for me. Start with you, Commissioner Jones. Anything for the group?
The only thing I've got is,
Get the microphone, yep.
I've talked to Robbie about it, and with the new assessments, we need to probably keep our assessors over there where they're at now until after the
Extend it.
appeals process. and
Right, we don't want them
extend that-
moving in the middle of this process, for
Extend
sure.
that month-to-month lease and until they can get that process done.
That's a lot of work. We appreciate all the hard work and overtime that those guys will have to put in to get everything put back to the way it was, but it's a tremendous savings for the citizens, so it's worth it. Anything else?
That's it.
Commissioner Thomas?
I don't have anything.
Anything for you, Commissioner Nick?
Nothing this month.
Commissioner Robbins, anything for you?
The only thing that I actually had was a library board meeting, and our county administrator, Mr. Civic, attended on my behalf because I had a prior engagement. Would you like to make any comment about?
Anything that we need to know for the team?
Things are going well over at the library. They're increasing their activities along with their staff, and they'll be better able to serve the people of Dalton Whitfield County.
Right,
Yep. Opening on Saturdays, I think, starting in the next, 2 weeks?
I think soon, yeah.
Yeah.
that's right.
Great.
Thank you very much.
All Since you were just speaking, Bob, I'll turn it over to you,
Will
Mr. Civik.
continue to be continued. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 4 items for the report. The first is the Toonerville intersection. Speaking not as an engineer, I went to law school because there wasn't any math involved or very little, but I will tell you from speaking to County Engineer Benson, the plan is to realign the Dawnville-Beaverdale Road by moving it further away from the main intersection and installing a traffic light at the main intersection. I believe there's a caution light there now, but yeah, we have a map, and the county engineer can go ahead and fill in the details on that.
Yes, sir. It's really a very simple project. We have done a design in-house on this, and so it's hard to see that aerial photo. Obviously, there's a shadow over Donald-Beaverdale Road, but you see where the road is being realigned. So there will be a 20-mile-per-hour speed design curve, and we would start reducing speed on Donald-Beaverdale a couple of thousand feet south of there, but bring traffic into a 90-degree turn, so they almost have to come to a complete stop to make the turn. Where you see the green hatched area,
That goes away.
That's the current alignment, and that will go away. But you can see the angle that it's on now. They can run that stop sign at a significant rate of speed, which we think is a large contributing factor to the accidents that are occurring at that intersection. We will reassess after we do this project to see if a signal is required. We do think a signal is going to be beneficial at that intersection, but we're going to do it in 2 phases. We'll do this realignment first, and then we'll do the signal installation after that.
And you're getting quotes on that, or what's the?
Met with a contractor this week out there. They're bringing their survey crew out this week to take some shots and get a cost estimate to us, and we're trying to fast track this. We're not going through the full design process. It will be designed, of course, according to AASHTO standards, but we're not doing full road design as we would and put it out to bid. We're hoping that this will be a project that we can go with one of our current contractors that's working on one of our current projects without having to go through the state's public works bid process, which would mean the cost of it has to be under $100,000, and we do think that we can get it for under that amount.
Look forward to approving that. I think we have the approval already. Yep, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Any questions?
Questions for our engineer?
So you'll have this done by our next meeting, is that what you're saying?
We'll call a special meeting to approve the money so you can get it done in 2 weeks. No pressure.
No comment, he says.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is service delivery agreements. Keeping with the previous goals for Whitfield County government, we do work closely with the city of Dalton, either to provide services for the city of Dalton or provide them in conjunction with the city of Dalton. We have about 20 agreements for a variety of services. Just to update the board and the public, on August 19th, that was a Friday, myself, County Attorney Smalley, and County Clerk Cardona were over at City Hall all day long discussing those agreements. And throughout the day, county and city officials who were involved in the nuts and bolts of the work that was done pursuant to those agreements were there. We have made some progress. We continue to make some progress back and forth. We will be meeting again on Friday, September 23rd. Hopefully to get things hammered out, maybe with the exception of a few loose ends that need to be tied up. And our deadline for that is October 31st, so I think we're in pretty good shape on that. The next item is the senior center transition as part of the lost agreement that we have with the city of Dalton. The city asked and the county agreed to take over the Dalton Whitfield Senior Center there next to the library. On, let me see, I'm looking for my notes. I can't remember the date, but it was a few weeks ago. I know it was in August. Commissioner Thomas, Building and Grounds Director Chuck Fetzer, Engineer Benson, who just spoke, and a number of other county staff toured and inspected that senior center. We weren't over there just to look at the state of the building, but also to talk about personnel issues, because those city employees will become county employees come January 1st. That's the date that the ownership and control of the senior center will be determined. Just for everyone's benefit, as part of that agreement, the city of Dalton agreed to transfer just under $500,000 in SPOS revenue that have been approved for capital improvements to the senior center. There needs to be some roof work done and perhaps some upgrade to the kitchen equipment and some other things there as well. One of the things that we're doing right now is we're advertising the director position, and we're examining options for to provide new services there at the senior center and also funding sources. The next and last item on the agenda is the Cohutta Tour the Town event, and that was done on August 26th. Commissioner Thomas, again, with a number of other county officials and a number of members of the public, went up to Cohutta at the invitation of Mayor Ron Shinnick. Just to refresh everyone's memory, the county, Whitfield County, is pursuing a Connected Communities grant that's being spearheaded by Jake Bearden and Carol Roberts, county employees. The crux of the grant will provide sidewalks from Cohutta Elementary School to the downtown area. And there's also some other infrastructure improvements that need to be made there in Cohutta. But in order to show us that the efforts are, the county's not putting any money into it, but certainly expertise and work in pursuing the grant, but to show us that our investment is an effort or resources well spent, Mayor Shinnick took us on a tour of the town and to a number of things there in the town. And I would say Cohutta's punching above its weight when it comes to amenities and businesses. We took a tour of the Red Wolf Grill, the general store across the street, the Cohutta Creamery, which serves ice cream. And we also took a tour through there on Wolf Street, a 19th century home that's being renovated. I believe the intention is to turn it into a bed and breakfast. So Cohutta's a very dynamic community being led by a very dynamic mayor. And I think Mayor Shinnick, I don't think there's any shame in this, but he wanted to brag a little bit and show off, and it was well worth the effort. And I think everybody who attended was very impressed. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, unless there are questions.
Any questions for our administrator? All right, now of our finance director, I'm gonna, well, that says 68 already. I'm in here. Garvin.
So through July, our local option sales tax is 8 million year-to-date, and that's 13% higher than through the same time frame for last year. That continues to be it continues strongly despite the concerns about the economy and inflation. And the TAVT is approximately 3 million through July year-to-date. That's 3% lower than the same time frame last year. And TAVT has seesawed the last 3 to 4 months. 1 month it was down by about this amount. It recovered plus a little bit. It's down again. So without a definite downward trend, you think supply chain issues and the scarcity of vehicles, hopefully that's all that is. Our year-to-date revenue is approximately 21 million, and that's 5.75% higher than through the same time frame for last year. And our expenditures are approximately 29 million year-to-date. That's 2.25% higher than, that's 5.75% higher than projected on the revenue. And the expenditures are 2.25% higher than what we would have projected through this time frame. That's a little bit less than last month. The fact that we're a little bit higher has come down a little bit. And so we see this graphically, our actual there, the first column in blue at about 22 million in revenue. And that is, as we've mentioned, approximately, well, 3 million of the difference between this year and this time last year's revenue is the ARP funding transfer that we've made thus far this year. And expenditures, we see the 29.2 there, just a little bit higher than projected through this point of the year. And with inflation and some various other board-approved factors, you would expect it to be higher than last year by somewhat, and it is. So we see the up-down aspect here of our revenue higher than projected at this point. The expenditures a little bit more than projected, but winding up being negative. But the net of that through this point in time, through the end of July, is about 586,000, sorry.
And that's an improvement over last month, I think, maybe $80,000 or $90,000 additional in our surplus, right?
Yes, just slightly. So this is our unassigned fund balance, which is the main indicator of our economic health of our general fund operations. And as we've tried to hammer home through the year, it falls. It falls every month. This month is close to 2 million less than last month, and actual at approximately 21 million. All things remaining the same as of now with what we budgeted and what would be projected, we would have the ending fund balance of 32.6 million. And so this is our SPLOST revenues that have come in since collections began in October of 2020. And we're at 37.9 million. Our bond debt services, we're in a holding pattern on that until the October principal and interest payment, which is the second interest and the only principal payment for the year. The 17.8 million of project expenditures includes Dalton's share of SPLOST revenues for their PAYGO projects, and Cohutta, Tunnel Hill, and Varnell were forward funded, but that's in there, as well as the PAYGO projects that are progressing for the county.
Any other questions for our finance director? Is there a motion to approve the finances as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Staton, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Thank you. All right, this is opportunity for public comments on any agenda items that we approved just a few minutes ago. I just want to caution, if it's related to a rezone, we can't have another public hearing on that, but if you have new information, if you want to share your opinion, vote yes or vote no, of course, that's totally fine, or any new information, but we're not allowed to have a second public hearing. That has to be posted with those yellow boards that everybody loves and notices mailed out and all that kind of good stuff. So just keep that in mind with your comments, but otherwise, we're happy to hear any public comments on agenda items.
I don't know if I'm in the right order or not.
No order,
No order.
as long as it's on the agenda, but no order otherwise.
I have two questions for the board. I'm fighting tooth and nail for Wheeler Dam.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, good point. We just need your name and address for the record.
My name is Ann Blevins. I've lived on Wheeler Dam Drive for 52 years. That makes me the oldest resident on Wheeler Dam Drive, with the exception of Mr. Ray Coffey. I've lived there longer than anybody. I have two questions concerning Wheeler Dam Drive. My first one is, I have been told that this board monitors the pollution level of Cohutta Creek at Prater's Mill. I was wondering how often y'all monitor the creek and at what level is it now?
I'm not aware that we monitor it, to answer your question.
Ma'am, if I give you my business card, I can find out and
I think that's
get back to
the
you.
state that does that possibly.
So y'all don't keep a record of that?
I personally don't know of one.
Okay. With the petitions of about 3,000 houses going in the Cohutta area, I feel like Cohutta Creek needs to be monitored I don't know monthly or what. I'm not into pollution. All I know is once it's here to stay. My second comment is, it is my understanding that this board has not had any dialogue with the road commissions about the traffic jam, these 3,000 houses that have petitions to put into the north section of Whitfield County. What are we going to do with that traffic? There's an average of 2.3 cars per every house. That makes a whole lot of traffic on 71, 201, and Georgia 2. It's at a load limit now, and there is no plan whatsoever to increase or upgrade those roads that lead to 75. I think we're putting ourselves in a world of hurt. Those are the two questions I have for this board, and if possible, I'd like for y'all to look into it, because I feel like it's very vital to our area of Whitfield County. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Smith, 4607 Cleveland Highway, Cohutta. I've spoken to this group before, and I'm happy to do so again. Some of you I know. Some of you I've traded with well, over the years. From a personal standpoint and for our community, I'm so glad that you got to visit Cohutta and saw what a quaint little town it was. 42 years ago, we moved to Cohutta for that very reason, because it was a quaint little town. And we all have heard, ain't no place like Cohutta. And it's true. And of course, the recent developments have made it even more charming. People come to Cohutta now to visit, which is great because it's still small town Cohutta. And you see a lot of people here who have the same concerns that I do, except that I'm going to be looking directly at all of these developments, which now I look at pastures. I'm not as concerned about the housing because I always knew that that would happen. You know, you don't have 400 acres and just let it sit there. I am concerned about the amount of houses that are going in. For the same reason that Mrs. Blevins mentioned, we're all concerned about the traffic. Every morning since school started, I turn left to go toward Cohutta School to take one granddaughter, and then I get back on Highway 71 to take another granddaughter to North Whitfield and turn left again. Those left turns can be very dangerous, and the concern for all of us who live in that community is definitely traffic. And I know you've heard us say that, but we're saying it again. We can't say it enough, that traffic is a huge concern. We don't want any more deaths because of it. I find it interesting that you all are making some changes at McGoy Chapel, and it is a dangerous intersection. Imagine what it's going to be like once commercial comes in and once all the houses come in. We're concerned about the lighting. We've mentioned that before, and the signage, that it might be obtrusive. Concerned about the commercial businesses that will come in and the sizes of them. So we really ask that you pay careful attention to that and remember why we moved to Cohutta. And it wasn't to make money for a developer from out of town. It wasn't for that reason at all. It was for us to enjoy life and our families to enjoy life and not to worry about pulling out into traffic and how many people are now on the highway. So please consider all those things when you make your decisions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Daniel Alt, live at 1066 Cohutta Beaverdale Road. So I, first of all, appreciate all of you commissioners letting us talk. I know especially the issue that I think a lot of us are here for has been a hot button topic, and I appreciate you humoring us and having us talk so many times about it. But I'm not really here to add any extra information beyond what's already been said tonight, but I am here to urge the commissioners that are making some decisions tonight to stand by the things that you've said. You know, you voted about a month ago to apply some conditions to one of the rezoning, specifically the Camden Farms plan unit development. And you know, you said you did something to address some of the issues I think all of us were worried about with this development. Some things that have already been mentioned: the signage, the size of some of the retail businesses, and just the overall traffic issues. And my understanding is that a lot of those conditions were, you know, not approved by the zoning and planning board. In fact, while the people were happy with, I think, some of those efforts, the zoning board, I don't have the exact quote, but I believe went so far as to say that your decision in levying those at our behest was against the rules. And I have an issue with that. That, you know, our elected commissioners are not allowed to impose conditions in our best interest. So I hope that you'll take that into consideration tonight when you review that. And, you know, like was mentioned earlier, you toured through Cohutta. I think you've seen how the businesses are there, and they're thriving. And I think we'd like to see more of that in Cohutta. We don't want to see 50,000 square foot big box stores, right? And the signage and things that come along with it. We're not opposed to these things coming in, and I think they can enrich the way of life for people here, but we don't want it to destroy the reason we're here. And so just to close, because I don't want to drag on too long, you know, I ask that you send this back until the signage limitations are approved, until the square footage limitations are approved, and I'd like to see the GDOT conditions re-added. I understand the zoning board said that those are already kind of included in this kind of development, but I think the citizens would rest a lot easier knowing that it's right there on the cover, that we're not going to have to pay out of pocket for these kind of improvements that are going to be directly as a result of this, especially relating to traffic and traffic signage and things like that. So again, I ask you to stand by your vote, stand up for the people here, don't back down. You're our elected representatives. We have to count on you to speak for us, and we hope that you can speak for us, and, you know, just stand by your word. So that's all I ask you, is that you just stand by that. Thank you very much.
Vicki Edge, 1475 Hickory Grove Road. I'm really confused and overwhelmed with the whole process that us in Cohutta have been through lately, and I know we haven't done it exactly the right way sometimes, and sometimes we just don't know. We're new at this, so I'm not sure if it's the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning for us. Our beginning for my mom on the road was an acre of land. Crossed two creeks, off of Wheeler Dam Road, underground springs galore, can't dig fence posts, floods, the whole 9 yards, thinking we was pretty safe. And then recently we have Camden Farms, a mile away from us, with thousands of homes, and now talking about commercial business, we're thinking, well, we're not too safe. And then the pasture goes up for sale in front of Mom's house, 34 acres. Still not too concerned, thinking 34 acres, it's very wet land, can't express that enough. Anybody that lives there knows, very wet land. Thought we was still pretty safe. My dad and I used to laugh all the time. Cows are better than houses, because we knew it was coming. You know that somebody's going to build a house or two or whatever. But when the R4 zoning went up, excuse me, when the R4 zoning went up, 10 houses an acre in the middle of hundreds of acres of general agricultural land. Imagine, and I know that the back and forth with the contractors and stuff saying, well, we're not going to build 340 homes. We're just going to build 150. That's still a lot. 5 houses per acre is a lot. So each one of us, we live in a house. Imagine waking up and knowing that the next 4 acres on the right of you is going to have 40 houses on it. 40 houses. Not 1, not 2, not 4, 40, up to 40. They're rezoning for R4. That's been my stance. Why are you rezoning for R4 if that possibility is not out there? So if you change it to another rezoning and it's down to 5, we have no plans from a contractor. We have seen nothing in writing, no drawings, no environmental impact studies. None of that has been presented. It's just verbiage on a sign to us. So that's been the beginning of this. So what's it going to be? Is the end going to be that it rezones and the 4 or 5 of us that live right there, neighbors, landlocked between 300 homes and a railroad track? We're already getting the calls from the Marla Drive area. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out where the access may really come from. On the left side of Mom instead of the right side where the sign's up and what we're talking about tonight. But 40 houses on the right side of you, 40 houses on the left side of you, 80 houses, and you're one of 3 people living on a driveway. And that's what you're going to look up one morning, 80 houses just right there. And that's is if you're Miss Coffee. If you're my mom, you're looking at 300, 150 or 300. So is that the beginning of the end for those that live there? Not to mention the traffic from the Camden Farms, thousands. I live in Cohutta. Y'all been to Cohutta. You know Wheeler Dam and Cohutta Varnell is the cut through, right? Yeah, you know that. So imagine right there at that intersection, thousands of homes, and now you're going to put 100 to 300 homes on Wheeler Dam. I won't even talk about the traffic. So is that the beginning of our end? It may be as life as we know it, if that's the way that the board votes. Or is it the beginning of a new end? Because this process for us has been foreign, it's cumbersome, and sometimes it just seems like it's downright unfair. I'll just be honest with you. It just seems like it's downright. This is our 3rd meeting. I still ain't got in my mind how this works because we talked to y'all, then we talked to the other people last week, and y'all had to leave, which totally flipped me out. I didn't understand that process, and now we're back to y'all again. So I challenge you that this group of folks, because we enjoy that rural life, and Whitfield County is not going to come to an end if we don't put 3,000 more houses up in Cohutta. It's not going to come to an end. We need to get ahead of this. So I just beg you to think about the placements of these places. And we're not even talking about the Patterson Farm, which is within 3 miles of my mom's house. So you got Patterson Farm, you got Camden Farm, and now lo and behold, 100 to 300 houses in her front yard. We don't have much of a choice. Our property, almost 1.5 acres there where the house is, was bought from the current neighbors. My grandfather bought it from the Prater's grandfather. We never thought that maybe we would entertain a phone call from somebody that said, we'll give you $1 million for your thing because we want to build houses. Never thought that. But that's what we're facing today. But that money's not what we're fighting for. These people are fighting for that way of life, that heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments?
I'll give it. Carol Matthews, Marlar Drive, Cohutta, on that one. Gentlemen, what you've been hearing tonight is a discussion of a way of life. It's not a matter of a lot of houses or land or whatever. It's a way of life, guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States that you can live for the pursuit of happiness. People may grow up in the country. A lot of people say they grow up in the country. That the developer said he did. You don't have a choice where you grow up, but you have a choice as an adult where you choose to live. You may grow up in the city and absolutely hate it, and you want to live in the country. You may grow up in the country and hate it and want to live in the city, and that's fine. Each place has a place. My background is in elementary education, Catoosa for 20 years. I was a parapro for that many years. So I think kind of simplicity, I guess. And my mind comes to an old fable that goes back into the 17th century. And as recently as 5 years ago, there was still a Broadway play on Aesop's fable of the town mouse and the country mouse, and how each one of them are cousins, and they go to visit each other. And they each like where they live, but the other one doesn't like the other. The country mouse doesn't like the noise of the city and the fear of the cat may have been killed. And then the city mouse doesn't like the plain, simple fact. So therefore, it's a choice as to where you live and how you make. If you lose the countryside, you lose what you're going to have for supper tonight in the future, because it has to come from the farmlands. It doesn't fall out of the sky. It has to come from the farmlands. They talk about progress and your shortage of houses. Well, right now, on your books, between all of the various places that you've approved of and may improve later, you've got 5,000 houses coming in already. Between the Patterson and the Camden and the Hammond Creek and the Hopewell, all of them that are coming in, and Kahula villages, and all of them, I mean, I can count them all up. It's about 5,000 of them. So you're catching up. You had a study a couple of years ago. Somebody sent me a copy of it. It's almost 200 pages long. And I read through the whole thing on the beautifying or the establishing of what to do for Dalton. And I read through the whole thing, and it talked about all the things that need to be done on the inner city. It mentioned very little about the countryside. It told you all the things you need to do to attract more businesses, then how much you needed to do for your downtown improvement. You have established, and I commend you for all the parks and the green spaces that you have in Whitfield County. They're beautiful, but those places are places to visit. Those are not places to live. You live in the north side, the south side, and the west side, in the farmlands, the spaces, the woods, whatever. That's where you live. And people come into the city to visit us a lot because it's more calming and being there. So you see what it was all about. The PUD, the actual idea of the PUD starting in the 1990s. And it was supposed to be for the inner city. It was to go in there and to start rejuvenating the inner city, the broken down buildings, the old places that were falling apart, the decayed area, the abandoned places and everything. A lot of it was in the city. It was started, but kind of left alone until in the 2000s when the Obama administration came in, and then they decided to put more money into it and to start diverse communities and so forth. And that's good, but it was the city. It was not sticking it out in the middle of the country and then spending $900,000 to run a sewer line to nowhere, when $900,000 could have been used so much more in downtown Dalton and the rejuvenating of the houses where a lot of that needs to be. And we need to really think about that. Like I say, it's not against progress, but is it progress to take away the lives and the homes of people and generations, and where your food comes from, and where the life is actually there? Is it not right? It is guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States And we just pledged allegiance to the flag. And it said very clearly that we have a right to the happiness of life. We have a right to have the open spaces in northern Whitfield. And you have the right, and you've been elected to represent us, the people who are here. 4 years ago, when we bought our property here in Whitfield County, if I had come to you a little bit before that, and I said, okay, we're looking at some property, but now for us to buy this property, I need you to run me a sewer line, I need you to run me a telephone line, I need you to do all these things for me. You would have just looked at me and said, where do you think you're coming from? We don't owe you anything. Same thing. You do not owe the outside developers anything, but you do owe your citizens in this county. You owe them to take care of what's here and and preserve our way of life. And we ask you to do that. Please, please consider putting things where they belong, where they need to be, not in the middle, not leapfrogging down Cleveland Highway and dropping 3,000 people on 200 acres. You wouldn't put 3,000 head of cattle on 200 acres. Why would you put people and 6,000 cars on the road and 15 to 2,000 or more children crowded into the schools? Why would you even consider doing that? I don't understand. But I do ask you as representatives, elected representatives of the Whitfield, citizens of Whitfield County, please consider what's already in the works and don't put us with a lot more that we don't need and cannot use. Thank you.
Darrell Long, I live on Troy Lane. There's a little saying, take what you want, said the Lord, and then pay for it. You gentlemen is taking. I'm afraid Whitfield County in future years is going to be paying for it.
Any other comments? All right, thank you.
Wait.
Oh, didn't see her.
I'm Sandra Lowe, and I live on Lowe Road in Cohutta. And so I've been up here. Oh, by the way, I appreciate you people calling me back when I returning my call and talking to me on the phone. It was very nice of you and very courteous. I want to speak about the. I don't want to repeat what I've said last time, but I want to speak about the school system and the educational system in Cohutta. I taught at the school for 21 years up there, 34 years in all. And I don't see how they can put these amount of children on that north end. We're going to have to build schools, or we're going to have to overcrowd schools, mobile homes, mobile units, and that's not good. And new schools will need buses, and they will need bus drivers, and that compounds the traffic problem. I don't know that I have a solution, but I believe that our children cannot be left behind, that they deserve a quality education, and they need to survive in the job market or in their individual endeavors. And we have less money to do it with, but 25 years ago, Don Thomas introduced a bill, and he said that each school system should get the same amount of money per child, that this rich school system and this poor school system could not be equal. And he said if $100 is spent here and $300 is spent there, you need to give $200 and make it equitable, make it fair. And but the richer, the city gets more money than the county, more for education, because they have the big businesses and they receive the business taxes. And they have the Mohawks and the Shaws and engineering flooring and all the myriad number of businesses that pay taxes. We don't have any of those out in the county. We don't have a Shaw, and we don't have a hotel. We don't have any of those out in the county, so we don't get as much. But we have to do with what we have. It means less computers and technology, less Chromebooks. These are mega expensive, mega bucks. But we've got to do what we can with what we have. And we can't leave our children behind. We've got to do well for our children.
No one rush. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on any topic? Doesn't have to be rezoning. We'll take other topics. We may ban future rezonings, I'm not sure.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Lowe has taught every one of my children.
Yes, I have.
And I'm partial to Miss Lowe. But I would like to say, if you think Cohutta is a small backward country town, check your graduating classes of your high schools. There is a larger percentage of straight A, top of the notch students come from Cohutta than any other school in the county.
All right, we'll move on to our agenda item. We can go ahead and do the new item that I added to the agenda first. Is that okay? That's the McGoy Chapel contract. What's the exact amount? I don't want it, 283 or? We already approved the amount. But just so everybody knows. Yeah, that's the formal contract. I believe everybody supports it, but entertain a motion to allow me to sign the McGoy Chapel contract to start the actual work.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. All right, now we'll move on to the real item 12 here. Battle Ridge Drive, this is just a petition. We're not actually closing the road. I would like a little bit more detail. That road is a really nice road, but it doesn't go anywhere. It's just a cul-de-sac. I assume the developer must want to rebuild or something since he owns all the property back there, but it's got gutters and everything on it. But anyway, this is just the petition. We won't make any, don't take any action. I just need a motion to accept the petition. You guys, I encourage you to drive out there too and take a look at it, or just research what he actually plans to do with it. But it's all woods and looks like it's for sale to me.
Set the public hearing for the October meeting whenever we end up having that October meeting, but we have to advertise it in the newspaper.
Right. Yep. So the motion would be to accept the petition and to set the actual public hearing for our October regular meeting. Motion by Commissioner Jones. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Thomas. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. We've got a couple of annexation requests. The first is the City of Dalton, 2 parcels there and no land use objection. This is off of Tibbs Road there as you're coming into Shugart. I believe it's a apartment complex that wants to be annexed into the city, probably for sewers or something to that effect, but right now it is just bare land, but they wish to be annexed. Is there a motion to approve the annexation? Motion by Commissioner Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hands or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Second annexation request is Varnell, 1 parcel there and no land use objection off Cohutta Varnell Road. Is there a motion to approve the City of Varnell annexation? Motion by Commissioner Thomas. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Last annexation request is a parcel off of Santa Fe Trail in the City of Varnell also. Is there a motion to approve this annexation? Motion by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Now to our rezoning request. Definitely going to take these separately, so I put them on separate slides for each one of them. The first one is the Wheeler Dam, which the recommendation from zoning of R4 was to deny it. There was comments, I just put that on there, that the person could come back and reconsider a different, such as R2 or R1, but they asked for R4, and that was denied by zoning.
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself
Okay.
on this one.
Fair enough.
Need to leave.
No, you don't have to leave. You just can't vote. You can hear the discussion. It's public.
Robert.
You don't have to leave.
Okay.
You can just not participate in the discussion.
Okay.
Or vote, right.
I make a motion to approve the denial based off the planning commission.
Motion to deny the R4 rezoning by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion on the Wheeler Dam Road, Wheeler Dam properties? All in favor to deny, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. That passes on a 3-0 vote. No houses on Wheeler Dam Road for now.
Wheeler Dam Drive.
Wheeler Dam Drive, sorry. The second one is the Strain Road, also known as Camden Farms. There's 4 parcels, 400 acres. The request was to review the PUD. That passed on a 3-1 vote to remove the sign limitation and replace it with our standard county ordinance that's in place for all of Cleveland Highway, and to change the commercial space to 50,000 square feet. Those were the 2 changes that the zoning board approved. We can leave it as is, we can approve their changes, or you guys have the emails from some additional options that was sent to us.
Based on a recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I make a motion to approve.
I second that.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins to approve the rezoning change to the PUD, second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Sarah Holcomb is the next rezoning. She agreed in the meeting to change it to R2, and then that was approved 4-0 vote for her parcel to keep it, to rezone it to R2.
Based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission, I vote to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins to approve the rezone to R2. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor to rezone, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Rezoning of Brian Spence. He's here tonight. If anyone has questions, this is a parcel over there near the Driver Services Building on the corner of Hill Road. And the request, or the options on this one, it's to rezone to R5. The Planning Commission discussed and approved a 10-foot vegetative buffer. I did speak with the developer about limiting it to 4 driveways, so they would basically be 2 homes per driveway as opposed to 8 total driveways, and he was okay with that.
Based on the recommendation and also the confirmation from the builder, developer, for 4 driveways?
Yeah, there's 4 there today already.
I make the motion.
Motion to approve the rezone with the vegetative buffer and 4 driveway limit by Commissioner Robbins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Billy Spence had a request to rezone and put 3 duplexes, or that was what they verbally mentioned during the meeting, and that would be an R3 rezone, and that was approved by the Planning Commission 4-0. Is there a motion to approve R3 rezoning for that parcel?
Motion to
duplexes?
approve.
Motion by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. The Winkler Grant property, which is off of Rauschenberg Road. The requested rezone was R3. This was actually 2 months ago, so that passed 3-0. The conditions we've discussed with the owner and the developer were to have a minimum of 1,500 square feet with a 2-car garage. Also, there's an existing 50-foot buffer, but that would just codify the 50-foot buffer between the school and the property that would remain natural, as well as replant trees and landscape along Rauschenberg Road once the development was mature.
Yeah, I'd like to ask the board to consider a minimum of half-acre lots on this one.
I think we need a motion and I think.
Well, you can discuss it, but, yeah.
You can make a motion.
I don't know if you're making a motion or not, but,
You make a motion to that effect.
or we can just discuss it.
Let's discuss it. My reasoning is the 2-lane road there, that's gonna be a tremendous amount of traffic there. And then we've already got a clear-cut subdivision coming in front of those schools. And now we're gonna have the same thing behind us. And it's just too many, I think, there. And what's the, Gene? What's the acreage on that side again, on the north side?
Yeah, just for reference, the property spans both the north and the south of Rauschenberg. The requester initially asked for the entire property to be rezoned to R3. After further discussion, I had discussed just rezoning the portion north as an option to reduce the number of houses, at least initially, just by cutting the property in half.
And am I right, Mike, in that the idea is to have it clear cut that north, or were you planning on leaving additional trees, or what?
Well, you know, I talked about, I mean, of course, it'll be pretty much clear cut, but it'll be around the boundary. There'll be, you know, there should be plenty of trees left around the boundary, and then down there, I guess the west
Creek.
side, lower side between the school.
And you feel confident y'all be able to get upwards of 144 lots?
The engineer is.
51 acres.
51,
On the north, yeah.
okay.
You know, it's really less than 3 homes per acre, of course, now that, you know, it's not the flattest piece around.
So what does that come out, lot sizes, would you say? Quarter of an acre, less?
0.3 or something.
You're talking 144 houses on 50 acres? Yeah, a third of an acre.
0.3 or something.
A little less than a half?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's my concern.
Understand.
The traffic it's gonna produce, and then having that. You know, our other county schools are just not surrounded by that many houses. If you'll take the time to look, it's just.
What did she say, 140 homes? 140 on the top? 144? Other discussions?
I'm just wondering, with, you know, what I think you discussed with Ms. Grant Day, I thought with the 1,500 minimum square foot and the 2-car attached garage, I thought we were kind of cutting the number down.
Well, and the standard size is 1,800 to 23, so we're setting a 1,500, but that's the plan, is to sell 1,800 to 2,300 square foot homes. So that will also kind of limit how many you can fit in there.
I mean,
I understand the concern.
John's correct. That intersection in the mornings and after schools, the railroad tracks is awful.
But lowered to 1,500, and if the rejected is over 1,800, that's like you said, it's gonna cut down the number.
You only get so many homes in the same amount of space.
Well, to me, it's just as much about the aesthetics there
With the
and
trees.
what the setting is right now. and you can look across from the front door of the schools now. Have you seen that lately?
Well, I don't know about where it is, but
You have.
On the west side.
And that's how it's gonna look at their back door of
Yeah.
the schools.
It's a construction zone right now, for sure. Yeah, no
And
doubt.
And what we've got right now is 1,500 minimum
Right.
on the square
The
footage.
developer agreed to that, but the average would be well above that, but the minimum, yes. With the one buffer that we all know, and then additional buffer along Rauschenberg as far as after it was completed, or the first homes were in there.
I make a motion to approve it as stated right here.
Motion by Commissioner Jones to approve it with the conditions as stated. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robbins. Further discussion? I don't want to rush anybody. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay? 3-1, passes. All right, now we're on the alcohol beverage application. So we had the public hearing earlier. There was no objections. We've got two permits, which are basically a change of ownership on both of them. Is there a motion to approve both alcohol applications?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Grant, we've got two kind of related administrative issues with our CHIP grant, which we received, I think, back in June or so this summer. There is a project delivery fee, basically, that is paid out from the grant itself. We just want to allocate that to Gilbert & Associates, which helped us win the grant, and they will help administer it and make sure we fill out all the paperwork. That's the only downside to these grants, state and federal grants. There's a lot of paperwork, and if you don't fill it out right, they will come back and take your money, so we don't want that. So this will approve a $2,500, what they call project delivery fee, paid to Gilbert & Associates.
motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins to approve the amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. The second part of that is a $1,500 fee will be paid to help us actually find and qualify recipients of the grant. We want to make sure the people are in need and of both their house and from an income level qualify for the remodel, the home improvement to make sure their house remains livable. This will be $1,500 paid to our local Dalton Whitfield CDC, the Community Development Corporation. So the total between the two is $4,000 per approved applicant. Motion to approve agreement with the local CDC.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Thomas, second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. All right, let's see. We've got a COVID mitigation. This is to apply for a grant for our jail, prison system that we have locally here. We qualify for up to $50,000, which we've had to fight COVID. We've had to put in all kinds of precautions and also staffing issues with the detention center. So we don't know if we'll win it, but if we do, there's no match required. Motion to approve applying for this grant.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. We've been working on our bridges throughout the county. That definitely is what keeps me up at night. We've got a lot of bridges on our SPLOST committee, our SPLOST projects. We've got other applicants. We've filed for federal infrastructure funds, but we've got to make sure our bridges are safe. This one was evaluated, I think, in 2019, Mr. Benson, but then when it went out recently, I guess that was almost 3 years ago now, some additional damage was found.
Yes, sir, to the bridge deck itself. Once you get areas breaking up, it's a concrete deck on the bridge. Just the constant pounding of the traffic just causes it to kind of mushroom, and it did in this case. We started out with an area of 7 square feet, which is obviously very small. In the 2.5 years since the assessment was done, the area has grown to about 180 square feet. It's a very expensive process per square foot. The contractor did, because of the quantity increasing, he did lower the unit price on it from $535 per square foot to $425 per square foot. But the total would be $72,755 This is a $1.8 million contract, so relative to the contract, it's small, but it's still
money, yeah.
obviously a lot of money. This money comes out of the $9 million SPLOST account for road projects in the 2020 SPLOST. So adding money to the contract does mean that something else somewhere, a culvert replacement or something, is not going to get done, and we take that very seriously. But this bridge is not going to last the 5 to 7 years until GDOT replaces it if we don't do this repair.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. This is item number 20, which we are going to delay. Again, we just want to do this right with our food bank and the renovation. The designs are in. We do have the bids back, but we got a few questions, maybe some tweaking to that before we approve the vendor and the amount. But we'll definitely have that done before our next meeting here. All right. Public comments about any other topics that maybe they weren't on the agenda.
What about the district attorney?
What's that?
You got-
No, don't have to do anything. That was in the consent.
Vicki Alt, Cuyahoga, Georgia. I think y'all know me. I think you don't like to see me much. I don't like to be up here, I'll tell you that right now. What I am surprised is everything the Planning and Zoning Commission do, y'all just roll over and let them do it. So who's got the power, you or them? And that $900,000 would have been great on those bridges.
Any further public comment? Hearing none, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Staton. We're adjourned.